This is ARBST, A-R-B-S-T. ARBST stands for Alternator Regulator Battery Starter Tester. It is a computerized tester for automotive electrical systems. ARBST performs 4 types of automatic tests: a battery test, a unique battery test after charging, a starting test, and a charging system test. These automatic tests are quick and easy to perform, and the results are easy to understand. Usually, they simply tell you if a component is good or bad. In addition, ARBST has the flexibility to serve as a conventional multimeter. With 2 separate voltmeters available, an ammeter, and engine speed readings that you can use for standard electrical system testing. And an optional roll-around stand is available, which converts your tester into a compact, portable battery workstation. This program will show you how to run the ARBST automatic tests and how to use other ARBST features. Before we start working with batteries, though, a few safety precautions about automobile batteries in general. Wear safety goggles when working on or around batteries. Batteries produce explosive gases. Provide for adequate ventilation. Keep lighted cigarettes, sparks, flames, and other ignition sources away from the battery. Batteries contain sulfuric acid, which is poisonous and causes severe burns. Avoid contact and have water available for flushing. Since ARBST is so easy to use, let's begin testing right away. Press the Power On key to turn the tester on. The main display on the tester shows messages and instructions to be followed during automatic testing. When the tester is turned on, it runs an automatic self-check. Then the multimeter function comes up on the display. We will talk about the multimeter later, but right now we're going to run an automatic battery test. First, connect the tester's heavy load leads to the battery. Connect the black negative lead to the negative battery terminal. Do not connect it to any other ground. Connect it directly to the terminal. Connect the red positive lead to the positive battery terminal. Make sure both clamps are securely connected. Press the battery test key to start the test procedure. At the moment, the main display says Input CCA. CCA is the cold cranking amps rating of the battery. It is usually printed right on the battery case. Press the digits on the numeric keypad to input the CCA number. Then press the Enter key. Here, the actual battery test begins. The display says Test in Progress, and after a short pause, a counter starts from 50 seconds. During that 50 seconds, ARBST applies a load to the battery, releases it, then applies it again. You can hear a solenoid click when the load is applied and released. While the test is being run, ARBST computer is gathering and calculating a number of battery parameters in order to determine the overall condition of the battery. After 50 seconds, the test is complete, and the main display shows the test result. Good battery means the battery is capable of holding a charge and performing the specs. Good low charge means the battery is good but should be recharged. Bad battery means the battery is not good and should be replaced. Most batteries will cause one of these 3 results, and that's all that will be involved. The test is complete. You have the battery diagnosis. However, the battery test may result in another message: Charge and retest. When this message appears, the condition of the battery is such that it cannot be diagnosed until after it is fully charged. Take these extra steps. First, bring the battery to a full state of charge by charging it slowly for 8 hours. Then let it stabilize for 12 hours. Shorter charge and stabilization periods can affect the diagnosis on batteries that have unusual defects, such as small internal shorts. After the battery is fully charged and stabilized, test it again, this time using the battery test after charge. This battery test after charge is similar to the battery test we just ran. In fact, the procedure is exactly the same. However, the results are calculated differently. The tester takes into account that the battery has been fully charged when it calculates the results. For this reason, the battery test after charge must be run only on batteries that have been fully charged. Now that we're finished with the battery test, let's perform a starting test. The starting test uses another lead, the gray amps probe. We recommend that you perform a simple procedure to zero this amps probe before each starting test. The procedure sets the probe to zero in much the same way that you might zero a scale, so it ensures the accuracy of the amps readings during testing, and it only takes a few seconds. First, make sure the amps probe is disconnected and held away from any electrical conductor. Also, be sure the clamp is closed. Then, press the 0 amps key on the console. The display says probe calibrated. This probe is zeroed. That's all there is to it. Now, we'll connect the test leads. Connect the amps probe around all the wires going to the vehicle's negative battery post. Connect it so that the arrow on the probe casing is pointing towards the battery. Be sure to get the probe around all the wires running to the negative battery terminal. Also, be sure the clamp is closed completely. Connect the red and black load leads to the battery terminals as we did for the battery test. Make sure they are securely connected. Now press the starting test key on the console to begin the starting test procedure. The display says input the number of cylinders. On the numeric keypad, press the correct number of cylinders, then press enter. The display will say disable ignition and crank engine. Here, you must disable the vehicle's ignition or fuel system so that the engine will not start when it is cranked. This step is necessary because the starting test needs several seconds of uninterrupted cranking in order to get a good look at the starting system. There are a number of safe ways to prevent an engine from starting. For most vehicles, remove the coil lead from the tower of the distributor cap and ground it securely. This disables the spark. Other methods for different types of vehicles are listed in the ARPST Operator's Manual. Also refer to the vehicle manufacturer's recommendations for suggestions. Be sure to follow instructions carefully and proceed safely. When the vehicle is set up so that the engine can't start, crank the engine. As you begin cranking, the display will say maintain cranking. Keep cranking steadily until the display says test complete. This takes just a short time. Stop cranking and press continue to see the test results. The display shows cranking volts. This is voltage at the battery during cranking. Press continue to see cranking amps, which is the peak amperage drawn during cranking. Press continue again to see starter diagnosis, either good starter or bad starter. The results are stored in a loop, so if you press continue again, the display returns to cranking volts. Press continue another time to see cranking amps, and so on. When you are finished with the cranking test, reconnect any systems you may have disconnected. Now, let's perform a charging system test. The gray amps probe is used during a charging test, so we recommend you zero the probe before every charging test. Disconnect the probe and hold it away from any electrical conductor. Then press the 0 amps key. The probe is zeroed. Now connect the gray amps probe around all wires going to the vehicle's negative battery post. Connect it so that the arrow on the probe casing is pointing towards the battery. And be sure to get the probe around all the wires running to the negative battery terminal. And be sure the probe clamp is closed completely. Connect the battery load leads directly to the vehicle's battery terminals, as we did for the other tests. Remember, do not connect the negative lead to any ground other than the negative battery terminal. Connect it directly to the terminal. Make sure both clamps are securely connected. During the charging test, ARPST reads the vehicle's engine's RPM. Yet, you'll notice there are no extra tachometer leads to connect. This is because ARPST has a unique capability called a battery tachometer. The battery tachometer reads engine RPM by checking electrical signals from the battery. In effect, this allows the battery load leads to serve also as tachometer leads, so you do not have to make any special tachometer connections. When the test leads are connected, start the engine. Press the charging system test key to begin the charging test. The top line of the display says run at 2,000 RPM. First, though, Take a look at the bottom line of the display. The number of cylinders shown here is automatically set to 4 on power up, unless you have already changed it during a previous test. In order for the RPMs to read properly, the number of cylinders here must be correct. If the number is wrong, change it by pressing the correct number on the keypad. No need to press enter. The bottom line of the display also shows engine RPM. Bring engine speed up to 2,000 RPM. You can be within a few hundred RPM either way, though it's better to be a little above 2,000 than to be below. When the tester detects engine speed near 2,000 RPM, the display flashes maintain 2,000 RPM. You must hold RPM steady at 2,000. There is a pause, then a counter appears in the corner of the display to count down 10 seconds. Keep RPM at 2,000. The tester is putting a load on the charging system and taking some readings. When the 10 seconds are up, the display says run at idle. Now you can release the throttle. Reduce engine speed to idle. For engines larger than 4 cylinders, idle means under 1,000 RPM. For 4-cylinder engines and smaller, idle means under 1,200 RPM. When the engine reaches idle, the display says maintain idle. Maintain idle while the tester reads the alternator diode condition. This takes about 7 seconds. Then the test is complete. The display says test complete. Press continue to see charging test results. Before we look at the results, let's look at an exception to the charging test procedure we just performed. If for any reason the battery tachometer does not receive a steady RPM reading during the charging test, the display will say RPM is NA, not available. You can still run the charging test in this case by estimating engine speed. Here's how to proceed. When the charging test display says run at 2,000 RPM, accelerate the engine and estimate when it has reached approximately 2,000 RPMs. This is about cruise speed on most cars. When it is near 2,000 RPM, press continue. The screen says maintain 2,000 RPM and the test runs as usual. The same principle applies when the display says run at idle. Drop engine speed down to idle. Press continue and proceed as usual. On to the charging test results. The first test result shown is regulator volts. Regulator volts is the final system voltage read during the test. Press continue to see peak amps. Peak amps is the maximum alternator output read during the test. Press continue again to see the alternator diode condition. Most of the time, the display says the diode is either good or bad. If the charging system was producing virtually no output, however, the display says diode condition is NA, not available. In this case, additional testing will be required to pinpoint the exact cause. Refer to manufacturer's procedure for the specific system being tested. That's it for the basic charging test procedure. And now we've covered all 3 automatic tests: battery, starting, and charging. We should note here, by the way, that there are additional messages you may see on the display that we have not covered in this program. If you come across a message you have not seen before, just do what that message tells you. For the most part, it will be self-explanatory. If you need more information, refer to your ARPST Operator's Manual. Now that we have run automatic tests, the results from those tests are stored in the tester's memory. We can review those results by pressing the Review Results key. When you press this key, the latest results from all tests that have been run are available on the display one at a time. For example, if a battery test was run, the first result shown is the battery test diagnosis. Press the Continue key to see the next result, cranking volts. Press Continue again to see the next result, and so on. The results are arranged in a loop, so you can keep pressing Continue to come back around to the first one, and then continue through all of them again. Test results are always saved in this manner. The results are even saved after the tester power is shut off. To retrieve results after the power has been shut off, turn power back on. Then press the Review Results key. When you press any other test key after turning power back on, all the old results are cleared from memory to make way for a new testing session. In addition to automatic testing, the tester has a multimeter function. The multimeter allows you to use the ARPS for conventional electrical testing. Let's see how it works. Press the multimeter key. RPM and search volts are shown on the display along with the number of cylinders. To get an RPM reading, connect the battery load leads to the vehicle's battery terminals, as we did for the automatic tests. Also, make sure the number of cylinders shown here is correct. If it is not, press the correct number on the numeric keypad. When you start the engine, engine speed appears now in the RPM spot on the display. If RPM is not available for the vehicle you are testing, the screen says RPM NA, not available. The search volts value shown on the main display is the voltage coming through the search volts accessory leads. This feature functions just like any other voltmeter. You can use the search volts leads to perform electrical pinpoint tests. Always use both search volts leads when making measurements to ensure accurate results. The displays on the left side of the tester show amperage and battery voltage as always. To measure the amount of current running through any conductor, clamp the gray amps probe around that conductor and read the value on the amps display. To measure battery voltage, connect the battery load leads to the battery if they are not already connected, and read the voltage display. The load on-off key can be used in conjunction with a multimeter for battery loading during electrical system testing. When the battery clamps are connected and the multimeter is up on the display, press the load key to put a load on the battery. The load will automatically remain on for 15 seconds, or you can shut the load off before 15 seconds are up by pressing the load key a second time. After the load is shut off, there is an automatic cool-down period for the same length of time that the load was on. During this period, the display says, "Wait," and counts down to 0. This concludes the operational portion of the video. Refer to the written operating instructions included with your tester if you need additional information. Your ARPS tester has an easy-to-run procedure that enables you to calibrate all the tester's leads. When you turn the tester on, it automatically checks to see whether calibration is required. If it is, the display says calibration is needed. In order to perform calibration, you need a good, fully charged 12-volt automobile battery. The procedure is simple. Press the calibration key. The display will say Short Search Volt Leads. To short the search volt leads, clip them together so that the metal clips are in complete contact with each other. Press Continue. The display will then advise you to see calibration diagram. There is a calibration diagram on the tester housing which shows you how to connect the test leads for the remaining calibration steps. Looking at the diagram, we see to connect the positive load lead to the positive terminal of a good fully charged 12-volt battery. Connect the negative load lead to the negative terminal of the battery. Make sure both connections are secure. Connect the search volts leads to the battery posts. Positive to positive, negative to negative. If you cannot get a good connection to the battery posts, you can clip the search volts leads directly to the battery load clamps. Connect the gray amps probe around the tester's negative battery load lead cable. The direction of the arrow is not important during calibration. When all the leads are properly connected according to the diagram, press Continue. The display will say Calibration in Progress. The tester places a load on the battery during calibration, which is used to calibrate the amps probe. The whole procedure only takes a few moments. When calibration is complete, display says Unit Calibrated. The calibration procedure is now complete. If any message is displayed that we have not covered during the calibration procedure, simply do what the message says. If you need more information, refer to your ARPS Operator's Manual for details. Finally, when you're all through testing, press the Power Off key to shut the tester off. If you forget to do this, the tester will automatically shut itself off if it is not used for 15 minutes. Your tester comes with its own internal 6-volt battery and charger. The battery must be charged overnight at least once a week. It will not hurt the battery to charge it every night, so we recommend you get in the habit of putting the tester on the charger every night. Use only the charger provided with your tester. There are other chargers that look the same but may damage the tester. To charge the battery, follow these steps. Shut the tester power off. Plug the charge cord into the charge socket, which is on the front of the tester at the bottom. Plug the charger into a standard wall outlet. While the unit is charging, the displays are blank, and the power on-off keys will not work. Besides charging, the only day-to-day maintenance the tester requires is cleaning and inspection. Take the following steps from time to time as required to keep your ARPS in the best condition. Keep the keypad, displays, and outside surface of the tester clean by wiping them with a mild multi-purpose cleaner such as Fantastic or 409. Clean the cables and clamps with a mild multi-purpose cleaner such as Fantastic or 409. While you are cleaning the cables, inspect them for damage. Check and replace as necessary. To prevent deterioration of the rubber, do not use solvents or harsh cleaners on the test leads. Keep the clamp ends clean. Use a small wire brush if necessary. Or if the clamp ends are corroded, use emery cloth to clean the brass. Your Behr ARPS tester has been designed with quality components to ensure long, trouble-free service. Should you encounter any operational problem, the following procedure will determine if the problem is field repairable by you or if you need factory service. First, power the unit off, then back on. If the problem still exists, continue with the next step. If nothing appears on the displays when the power on button is pressed, refer to the charger check and internal battery check sections of the operator's manual. If the tester powers up properly but does not read voltage or current, refer to the test leads check section of the operator's manual. If the problem is field repairable, parts may be obtained through either your local Behr Service Center or by calling our ARPS Factory Service Depot at 1-800-666-2327. Refer to the maintenance section of the written operator's manual for detailed parts replacement procedures. If the problem is not field repairable, the tester must be sent to our Factory Service Depot for service. Always save the original ARPS shipping box to be used as a shipping container should the tester need to be returned for factory service. Behr will repair and ship the tester within 24 hours of receipt at our Factory Service Depot. Before returning a unit, always call 1-800-666-2327 for return authorization. Included with each ARPS tester is a repair request form and a return shipping label. Always include the completed repair request form with the return authorization number if the tester is returned.